be advised the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Intellectual Property, and I'm your host, Attorney Sarah Jane Sugitan. Joining us tonight on the program are two representatives from PhilCalls, Ms. Beverly C. and Mr. Alvin Buenaventura, to talk to us about authors' plights, managers, and how they act as a collecting agent for writers and other publishers as well. So please welcome on the set Ms. Beverly C. and Mr. Alvin Benaventura. Good evening, and thank you for joining Intellectual Property tonight. And we hope that we can talk about, of course, the concerns of writers and what PhilCalls is about, what is it doing to address the specific concerns of many writers out there. So Alvin, what is PhilCalls about?
Okay, first off, I would like to thank you for inviting us here. PhilCalls, Filipinas Copyright Licensing Society. This is a new group created for authors and publishers. So we stand as the link between authors and the end users. So we are sort of a clearinghouse for the rights.
Is it also safe to say na parang managers?
Yes,
That you're
Actually,
acting as managers?
the general term is a collective management organization. So
Collective
a
management
CMO. And then specifically, we are an RRO, a reproduction rights organization, and our work is to collectively manage the rights of our members, rights holders.
Kasi this morning, I had on the other intellectual property program called Piracy Watch over RJAM. I have two writers who were telling us about the experience nila. Na usually, here in the Philippines, it's not industry practice na when you write, tapos, kuwari, may anthology. So your poem gets reproduced in a book, pero they don't get credit for it, or even if they do get credit, they are not informed or they are not paid for the reproduction. Is that a common problem among
Yes,
writers?
kasi ang nagiging problem is there are so many end users. Okay, so many end users and so many authors. Now, those who you're referring to, the end users na gagamit ng work ng authors, nakakatamad or mahirap hanapin yung author. So what they do is just take the author's work and cite the author's name, recognizing that he or she is the author of the work. Pero they don't get paid kasi hindi nga sila nahanap in the first place. So you really need a central agency that will help these end users. Ito yung author na to, kilala namin. Makakontak mo siya. You ask permission, and then pag nagamit na, okay, you have to pay for the use of the work.
So, PhilCalls will be functioning as such. In
Yes.
case na, halimbawa, author ako, tapos I sign up with PhilCalls, tapos I'll tell you, these are my works, and if ever you be the one to monitor kung saan siya lalabas, and then if ever I'll get royalties for that. Parang ganon.
This is the experience also of so many authors, including my companion here, si Beverly, because she's also an author. And she experienced so many times before na ginagamit yung work niya, na-include siya sa mga published works, at nakikita niya na lang. Or some of her friends will tell her na, uy, lumabas sa libro yung work mo. Pero she doesn't get paid for it.
Beverly, ano yung mga sinusulat mo? Are you a poet? Or
Oo.
you have poems?
May mga sinusulat ako mga tula, maikling kwento, akdang pambata, iba-iba. Kasi ang major ko ay malikhaing pagsulat sa Filipino. So, na-train kami na kahit na anong genre ay maipoproduce namin. So, ayun, naranasan ko na yun talaga na nagugulat na lang ako, na-publish ko lang yung akda ko, ganyan. Nakaka-flatter, totoo yun, nakakatuwa para sa isang writer. Kaya lang, syempre, hindi naman mabuti ako dahil may trabaho ako o kaya may kita ako mula sa ibang hanap buhay. Kaya hindi ko kailangan kumita mula dun sa akin sinusulat talaga, no? Pero paano naman yung walang kinikita?
Oo.
mula sa ibang uri ng hanapbuhay. Paano kung dito lang sila kumikita sa pagsusulat
Sulat nila.
lamang?
Oo nga, tama
Oo.
yun. Maraming katulad kanina nung sinabi ng mga guests namin this morning na yung maraming writers, hindi nila main job yung pagsusulat.
Totoo.
Kasi wala talagang kinikita doon. Or, I mean, I'm sure may kinikita doon. Look at J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter, di ba? Nung pinublish niya yung novels niya, nilicense niya yung, of course, yung publication to a publishing house. Tapos ngayon, di ba, there are toys, there are candies.
merchandise,
Yes, there are other
movies,
merchandise,
games.
di ba? Na she
Na based
profit
dun.
dun sa kanyang
Sinulat.
novel, di ba? So, obviously, it can be a lucrative endeavor for writers provided siguro ma-protect natin yung rights nila.
Oo, totoo.
Oo. At saka bakit ganun, Alvin? Bakit if for example, gagamitin ko yung work niya, i-reproduce ko sa dyaryo ko or sa textbook, children's textbook, how come hindi nahahanap yung author?
Mahirap hanapin yung author kasi either baka pwedeng nasa ibang bayan na siya or nasa ibang lugar or gumamit siya ng pen name na hindi naman siya kilala, na alam, di ba? So, hindi mo siya mahanap. Or baka pumanaw na yung author, hindi natin alam kung sino yung heirs. Pero babalik ko siya muna dun sa foundation, ano? Bakit ba mahalaga na kilalanin mo yung author at bakit bayaran? Kasi yung copyright, although syempre sa batas, it's a bundle of rights given by law to rights holders, but copyright basically is human right. Now, it's enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it is in Article 27, number 2, that yung mga author na nagpo-produce ng literary, scientific, or artistic production, meron silang material and moral interest dun sa work na yon. And it should be protected. So, ibig sabihin, moral interest, meron silang karapatan sabihin na ako yung author niyan, hindi pwedeng baguhin ng kahit na sino. At kailangan kong kumita sa work na yan, kung kanta man yan, libro, or painting, sapagkat yan ang kabuhayan ko. So, basic human right yun. If we respect the copyright of an author, we respect human right. That's why we're so keen on telling people, you have to respect copyright because it's respect for human rights.
Yung PhilCalls, bago lang siyang organisasyon.
Yes,
How
it's a new
young is it?
organization established only in 2008. We were incorporated last January 8, 2008. So yung mga medyo superstitious yung nag-start nito. I started only with PhilCalls in 2009. Because yung nakita ng authors and publishers that there is a need to address the rampant use of their works, mainly through photocopying and through scanning of their works for so many users. Like you have research institutions, you have higher education institutions using their works for free. And let's face it, no, the works of these authors create lawyers, create doctors, create engineers, and all the other professions that we have. Which is unfortunate. Bakit? Kasi yung mga gumawa ng mga libro, they don't receive anything.
Oo.
Ang nangyayari lang is bibilin yung isang piraso ng libro nila, tapos ipa-photocopy ng napakarami. And authors, kumikita sila dun sa reproduction ng work. So, hindi pwedeng first publishing lang.
Okay. Beverly, how do you feel about that, photocopying? Kasi sa marami sa mga eskwelahan natin, rampant yon. And somehow, it brings down the cost ng mga libro ng mga bata, lalo na ngayon, yung mga nanay, lagi silang umaangal, tuition fee, then books, etc. So, may naglalabang consideration On the one hand, you want to lower the cost, and on the other hand, there are of course authors like you behind the works who also deserve to earn from the reproduction of their works. How do you feel about photocopying?
So, bilang isang poet, as a poet, talagang natutuwa ako na may posibilidad na sa pamamagitan ng PhilCalls, magkakaroon kami ng just remuneration for our works that are being photocopied. Bakit? Kasi ang mga poets, ang iikli ng gawa, di ba? Pwedeng isang pahina. So, ito yung pinakamadalas na photocopy. At hindi naman natin pwedeng pilitin ang mga magulang o ang mga estudyante na i-photocopy yung buong libro ng tula. Kasi kadalasan, ang tula, paisa-isa o padala-dalawa lang yung tinatalakay na tula. 'Di ba? Kung hindi mo naman kailangan yung lahat, bakit mo bibilihin yung buo?
Oo.
O kaya hindi rin siya, meron ding imbalance dun sa kailangan at saka dun sa supply and demand, 'di ba? So, ang mangyayari dito, ikatutuwa talaga ng mga makatayan yung posibilidad na magkakaroon ng karampatang bayad para sa kanilang mga akda na napo-photocopy.
Oo.
Oo.
At saka isa pang consideration, yung kasing pagpo-photocopy, they claim it's an exception to copyright kasi academic use yan eh. Pero on the other hand, kung naman multiple copies na yung ginagawa mo and for example, in a university, meron diyang makaka-afford, merong hindi, edi dapat meron ding way to address that. 'Di ba? Alvin, what do you think?
Yes, yung na-mention mo na for academic use, syempre nasa batas natin na nilagay nila doon na pag yan ay ginamit sa isang for educational purpose, di ba, nagkakaroon siya ng fair use. Fair ito kasi educational purpose. Pero meron pang mga kasunod yun na qualification. Di ba? Ano yung mga susunod na qualification maliban sa for educational purpose siya? Dapat, ito yung three-step ng Berne, ng Berne Convention. Unang-una, hindi pwedeng yung exemption ay broad. Dapat special cases lang. So sabihin natin na isang subject lang. Pero ano yung susunod doon? Ang susunod doon ay, teka lang, hindi kaya magiging unreasonable na matamaan yung economic side ng author. Di ba? Yung sa normal exploitation ng work. Pag tinamaan mo na yung normal exploitation ng work, which is publishing of the work, magkakaroon na tayo ng problem. Bakit? So, ginamit sa loob ng classroom, pinotocopy, pero meron naman libro. Ano yung pangsusunod pa, yung pinakahuling test? Magkakasama yan, ano? Dapat hindi unjustly mapiprejudice yung karapatan ng author na kumita dun sa kanyang libro. Yung tatlong test na yun ay magkakakabit. Hindi pwedeng,
Isa lang.
ano yan, educational purpose, tapos na. No. Normal exploitation of the work, dapat irespeto. Kikita economically yung author doon, dapat irespeto pa rin. So yung tatlo na yun. Now, let me tell you this. Sa education setting natin, photocopying really is a luxury. Yung estudyante na talagang walang pang-photocopy can still study without photocopying.
That's right.
Kaya lang, maraming mga estudyante na dahil madaling magpa-photocopy, bigay mo yung libro, hindi na nila
Convenient.
babasahin,
Oo,
convenient.
convenient.
Actually, it's a convenience. So, naging justification na lang, ay, educational purpose, sige, photocopy na lang natin. Di
Oo.
ba?
At saka it's easily available eh.
Yes,
For
yes.
example, how about universities? Maybe we should also inform universities na to respect copyrights. Kasi within universities, yung mga professors, sometimes they require, yun nga, sinasabi ni Beverly kanina, specific poem lang to read or specific chapter of a book. So yung student, nandun yun sa library, ifo-photocopy yun lang particular part na yun, di ba? Maybe there should also be a policy among universities. What do you think?
Yeah,
Does PhilColls
actually,
promote that?
In one university we visited recently, if you go to the photocopiers within the university, you'll find there a huge disclaimer saying that you can't photocopy the whole book. Which is right, di ba? You can't photocopy the whole book because it is piracy. Now, pag ginamit mo paulit-ulit ang isang akda, like a chapter or two of a book, for your students na nasa libo-libo, and you'll use it for the next 20 years, it's unfair to the authors. Di ba? And sa napakarami sa mga universities natin, especially yung mga affluent universities, diba, hindi na nga nila alam kung saan nalalagay yung pera nila. Paggawa na sila ng building para sa parking lot ng mga estudyante. And yet,
Oo nga, yung practical.
and yet, diba,
Oo,
and yet
yung
the authors of these books who helped them become professionals later on are not really earning much from their work. Yun yung gusto naming ma-address.
Beverly, yung pagdating sa book piracy, kasi parang lumalabas, kumbaga maraming parties involved. Unang-una, merong estudyante, nagpo-photocopy, may professor na nagre-require na magpa-photocopy, and at the same time, merong usually concessionaires din, di ba? Yung mga photocopying, it's a separate company from the university. So, if ever magpaparusa tayo sa kanila, or, I mean, are all of them, should all of them be liable, pati yung may-ari ng photocopying company, yung student din ba, kailangan nating patawan ng fine or some sort of, just basic, respect for copyrighted works?
Alam mo, Attorney Sarah, sasagutin kita batay doon sa naranasan namin sa isang project namin, yung IP in the Age of Jejemon. Itong project na ito ay isang buwanang gawain para sa mga estudyante at guro sa iba't ibang paaralan. No? Itong IP in the Age of Jejemon ay lecture forum tungkol sa intellectual property, academic publishing, writing and copyright. So, isa sa mga tanong ng mga estudyante sa amin yan, makukulong po ba kami dahil sa pag-photocopy po
Photocopy.
namin, no? So, makikita